What if you could change the world? Not with some grand gesture, but simply by mastering yourself. Well, we're about to dive into a timeless piece of wisdom that says this isn't just a nice idea, it's actually the fundamental law of reality. So let's begin. We're all just trying to find our compass in the middle of all the chaos of modern life, right? We're constantly being pushed to be more ambitious, more powerful, more successful. But what if that true north we're searching for isn't out there, somewhere in the world, but actually deep inside of us? And this is really the heart of what we're exploring today. This idea that a peaceful society, a just world, a harmonious life, it doesn't start with big policies or revolutions. It starts quietly inside the heart and mind of a single person. Every ripple has to start somewhere. So before we can trace its path across the world, we have to go right back to the very beginning. Where does this world-changing power actually come from? The ancients had a name for this kind of ideal person, a Shrishta Purush, which basically means a truly noble human being. And their greatness? Well, it wasn't measured by the kingdoms they conquered or the money they had. It was measured by the one thing that really, truly matters, the conquest of their own inner world. The Manusmriti gives us this beautiful term for this state of total self-mastery, Tridandin. It literally means someone who holds a threefold staff or scepter. But this isn't some physical object you carry around. It's a powerful metaphor for perfect self-governance. So what is this threefold staff all about? Well, it represents mastery over the three places all of our actions come from. First up, you have Manadanda, control over your thoughts. This means being free from envy, ill will, all that mental chatter. Next is Vagdanda, control over your speech. No harsh words, no lies, no useless gossip. And finally, Kayadanda, control over your body and what it does. No harm, no theft, no betrayal. You master these three and you've built an absolutely unshakable foundation for a noble character. And this is the next step. Once that inner control is there, you pair it with selfless action. The Bhagavad Gita tells us to do our duty without getting attached to the results, without ego, without desire. It's all about acting for a higher purpose, turning every single thing you do into a kind of service. So what does a life guided by this kind of inner mastery and selfless action, what does it actually look like? Well, this brings us to the whole concept of dharma, or what you might call righteous living. And to really understand dharma in action, we don't need to look any further than the epic story of Sri Rama. For our purposes here, let's look at him not just as a divine figure, but as the ultimate case study of a Shrestha Purush, someone whose every single choice created these massive waves of positive change. Look at this timeline. It charts the ripple effect perfectly. It all starts with one single personal choice, to uphold a promise, even when it costs him everything. This one act of choosing duty over his own desire, choosing dharma, sets everything else in motion. His integrity becomes this magnetic force, pulling all these different beings together for a common good. The battle that follows, it's not about personal revenge. It's about restoring balance to the entire world. And the final massive ripple, an entire kingdom built on justice and prosperity. It all flows from that one initial choice. And here's the really profound part. Sri Rama's story shows us that dharma isn't just some list of rules to follow. It's like the very frequency of harmony itself. And when a person tunes their life to that frequency, the world around them just naturally starts to resonate with justice and truth and compassion. Now, to really appreciate the power of that kind of order, we also have to understand its opposite. What happens when our actions aren't guided by inner control and dharma? What does that path of adharma, or unrighteousness, actually look like? This chart here lays it out so clearly. Where dharma is all about selfless duty, adharma is just fueled by selfish greed. Where dharma creates harmony, adharma, it just sows chaos. It's the path of getting what you want at any cost. And it's a path that ultimately leads to the decay of not just the person, but of society itself. The Ramcharitmanas has this powerful metaphor for this inner state. It describes a heart that's so clouded by selfish desire that it's like a dirty mirror. It can't reflect reality clearly anymore. People who live this way are basically trapped, just spinning around in a world of their own delusion, completely blind to the chaos they're creating. The Manusmriti takes this idea even further, really digging into the karmic consequences of these actions. Now, look, no matter what your personal beliefs are about rebirth, the symbolism here is incredibly powerful. The text is suggesting that our actions literally shape our very nature. If you steal grain, you start to develop the consciousness of a rat. If you delight in hurting others, you become like a predator. The negative ripples of adharma don't just affect the world out there, they fundamentally change who you are on the inside. So, okay, let's bring all this ancient wisdom right into our own lives right now. We've seen the path of the noble person, and we've seen the path of chaos. This isn't just a bunch of old stories. It's really a mirror being held up to each and every one of us. The key takeaway here is this. That ideal, the Shrestha Purush, it's not some distant myth reserved for legendary heroes or ancient kings. It's a practical blueprint for living a meaningful life, and it's accessible to every single one of us. So, what is the path? According to all this wisdom, it starts by cultivating that inner stillness, that mastery over our thoughts, our words, and our deeds. Then, from that quiet place, we can act with a selfless purpose, dedicated to something bigger than just ourselves. And through it all, we have to remember that every single action, no matter how small it seems, creates a ripple that touches everything. So, in the end, all of this ancient wisdom leaves us with one profound and very personal question. Your life is that stone dropped into the water. The choice of what kind of ripple you're going to create, one of harmony or one of chaos, that's entirely up to you. What will it be?